Welcome everybody. My name is Sherry Titus. I'm the Recreation Superintendent with the City of Cerritos, just a little south of here. And I'm going to be your CAP hostess this morning for the next couple of Rec Talks. CAP stands for the California Action Plan. It's the VIP 2.0 reboot, the vision for unifying our profession. As many of you know, many years ago, in the late 90s, we created community through people, parks, and programs. Out of that, that was part of the VIP action plan. CAP is going to take us into the future, and Rec Talks are part of that, that carrying us all into the future. They're designed to provide conversations that matter through the presentation of topics impacting recreation professionals in these changing times, also while communicating our values. They apply best practices through real-life experiences, and today, this morning, our first presenter is Marie Knight, who's the Community Services Director with the City of Huntington Beach. She's going to talk to you. Yes, give her a hand. She was fabulous last night. She had her bell bottoms, brought the 70s right on back. She's going to talk to us a little bit today about the importance of telling our story. And with that, Marie Knight.
Thank you, Sherry. Good morning. How's everybody doing? I'm going to apologize in advance. I had too much fun last night, so my voice is going to come and go. So I'm going to talk this morning about telling our story. And the reason that they asked me to talk about telling our story is that collectively, the collective we are not very good about that. We're really good about what we do, but we're not very good about telling about what we do. And for me, I think marketing is the linchpin to what we do, and it's the key to what we do, because if we're not out there telling our story, somebody else is, and sometimes it's not that great. So stories have had a role in our lives ever since we were children, right? You start reading to children at an early age, you start telling stories to children at an early age, and there's a reason behind that. Stories surround us, right? We go to the movies, music. Years ago, people sat around this thing that looks like that. I don't know if some of you know what that is, but that's a radio. And that was the only way that folks got their stories, and they'd sit around, they'd listen to Amos and Andy and things like that. And books. Books are the most wonderful, fabulous storytellers in the world. How many of you have ever read a book? And it's a story. Okay, starting with there's 4 people that have ever read a book. And you're reading about that story, right? And then they make a movie out of that book. And you go to the theater, and all of a sudden the leading character is on the screen, and you look at it and you go, no, he's not supposed to be blonde. That's not what I have in my head, right? Because reading a story allows us to create images in our head, right? And books take us through these fabulous series of our minds formulating what things should be, right? So stories play a huge role in our lives. There's stories on television. There's also musical stories. There have been some amazing storytellers throughout the years in music, right? So anybody remember the song A Boy Named Sue? Boy Named Sue, anybody, right? My name is Sue, how do you do? That was one of the most fabulous stories ever. Elvis in the ghetto. And a cold and rain Chicago born, a poor little baby boy was born in the ghetto. What a great story. Some of my favorite storytellers, Harry Chapin. I don't know how many of you are old enough to know Harry Chapin, but you should Google him. Harry Chapin had the way of telling a story through music that when you got to the end of the song, you went, what? I didn't see that coming, right? So if you have an opportunity, Google the song Corey's Coming and listen to that and wait till the ending of it. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Copacabana, 7 years. Is it Lucas Graham? That song recently out by Lucas Graham, Once I Was 7 years old, takes you through a story. So we have been fortunate of having stories throughout our lives just take us on these fabulous journeys. So why are stories important? A good story has impact, right? How many of you remember the Super Bowl commercial of the young Darth Vader? Right? And he'd walk around and he'd do this and he'd try and start things, and then he got to the car and he's in front of the car and he did this and the car starts and he was amazed, and then you see the picture of his parents inside with the car clicker having the best time, right? That story has impact, right? There was a commercial not too long ago and the commercial had no words, and all it was was it was a woman and she was holding up a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it said LOL. And then the next piece of paper she held up said, "Those were the last words my daughter texted me before she crashed and died." It was all the commercial said, but it had a huge impact. And you knew everything about the story they were trying to tell about don't text and drive. Stories also take us on a journey that we remember then, right? We want to remember and we want to go on a journey. We are wired to belong to something and to want to go on a journey on something, and that's why stories are so important. Stories are also important because when we show you rather than tell you about something, you're engaged in it and you will remember more. So how many of you think that if you walked through Costco, anybody ever go to Costco for lunch? If you walked through Costco and you saw a sign that said, "These burritos are amazing," that you would probably go and buy those burritos. Versus, you have this sweet little lady in a hairnet handing out a sample, right, of the burrito, and then you taste it and you go, "Oh my gosh, these burritos are amazing," and you go buy them. Costco has learned that if I engage you in the story of who we are, you are more likely then to be a great consumer. That's what we have to learn. We have to learn that lesson of telling our story. I thought I deleted that slide. Pictures also tell awesome stories. So this is a commercial for Heinz ketchup. What is the story that that commercial is telling you? This is Heinz hot ketchup. What story is that telling you? Super hot, right? Like you eat this ketchup and you're gonna sweat. This is a commercial for bread. What do they want you to know about their bread? So soft, you could sleep on it, right? Legos. What are they telling you in that picture? You can build anything, right? That with Legos, your imagination is endless. This is Haribo gummy bears. What do they want you to believe about their gummy bears? They taste just like oranges and they're healthy, right? So go eat a lot of their gummy bears. This is a commercial for children's aspirin. Right? You've been there, right? All you see is that picture and you know exactly the emotion behind that because we've all done that, right? So where do stories fit in today's crazy world? First of all, our brains are wired and they are advancing a lot slower than technology is, right? So technology is taking us on a very fast-paced world these days, but our brains aren't keeping up. Our brains still want to connect to a story and a journey. We look for things that are logical and that we can connect with, and stories help us do that. They break through the noise. That's why so many brands out there use commercials like, you know, the Budweiser commercial with the little dog that gets the horse back to the stables, right? Because that breaks through the noise of technology today. That's why stories are important. We connect better to things through emotion, right? And some of the best brands out there have really got it wired that human emotion connects you to who they are. And they play and they tug on our emotional strings. And that's what a story should do. They help us belong. We want to belong to something. We want to share experiences. So yesterday when Henry stood up on stage and put that awesome video of himself up there with Paula Abdul and had you all stand up and do YMCA, you have a shared experience with him and a story to tell. That's the importance of stories today. And we all want to belong to something. Okay? So, what does that mean for us? That means that we have to be better about building our brand, okay? Not just selling our products and services, but building our brand. Because our brand is our values, our promises, our guarantees that frame a relationship with our customers. And that's what we don't do very well sometimes. We don't make sure we're building a relationship with the people that we serve, and our brands are doing that. And sometimes the most powerful brands that are out there are creating a need for a product that doesn't really exist. Okay, so in my hotel room, there's 2 bottled waters sitting on the credenza with 2 glasses next to them and a nice little sign that says, if you drink that water, you owe me $500, right? So think about it. The drinking water here in California is just fine. The water that comes out of that tap is just fine. But several years ago, Evian decided that they're going to convince all of us that bottled water is better for us, right? And they went on a campaign to make sure everybody understands bottled water is better. And right now, ounce per ounce, Evian is more expensive than Budweiser, than Coca-Cola, and then milk, right? That's a brand that created a need out of something that wasn't even there. So there are two things I want to share with you this morning. Two companies where their brand tells you about who they are. And their brand has built a relationship with their company. First one is IKEA, right? So you walk into a furniture store, right? And you see all these little yellow bags. Well, what does that mean? I can't fit a couch in that little bag. What does that tell you about them? That tells you that I'm going to find a lot of stuff inside of there to put in that bag. So I want to grab that bag. And then there's tape measures and pencils. And that tells you that there's going to be stuff in here I'm going to want to measure to see if it fits. And it's interactive. I'm going to do a little bit of work here to get what I want. And then you pass by this. So what does that tell you? It's fun. And put your kid there, because you're going to be a while in this store, right? Because they make you go through every single section of the store before you get to the 1,000 candles for $1 section, right? And look at the smile on his face. He's leaving with something in those boxes that he's going to get home and have to put together, and then he's going to end up with more pieces than he used, and he's going to have fun doing it. They have built a brand that says, we're inexpensive, and we're fun, and oh, by the way, if you're hungry, the Swedish meatballs are awesome. They've built a relationship with their customers about who they are. In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about, right? What is their brand? They're not fast food, are they? No, right? You know when you go there, it's not fast food. They have open counters. You know why? Because they want you to see them cooking your food. They want you to know that I'm making your order right now because you ordered it. That's their brand. They're not fast, they're fresh, right? They're also known for paying their staff really well in the fast food industry, right? They even give college tuition money to their staff. Do you know why they do that? Because generally, you will be hard-pressed to find an angry or unpleasant In-N-Out worker because they take care of their staff and they know that they get paid back tenfold with the customer service that they provide. So part of their brand is, we give excellent service. The other part of their brand is, there's a secret menu, right? And if you know what's on the secret menu, you feel special. How many times have you driven through In-N-Out with a newbie, right? An In-N-Out virgin, and you order fries animal style, and they go, what? That's not even on the menu. How do you know about that? That's part of their brand, is that if you know something special about us, you feel special, right? So what's your brand? What's the story that you're telling? There's a lot of other brands out there that tell a story. So Nike is just do it. Nike's brand is you better be darn tough. And you better be like an awesome athlete. And even if you aren't, when you put our shoes on, you are, because you're just going to do it, right? Volvo's brand is safety, right? Moms that want to be safe, buy a Volvo because I'm going to take my kids to school every day and we will never die in that Volvo. Ivory Soap, their brand is pure. Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's is the fun side, where Haagen-Dazs is the snooty side, right? So Haagen-Dazs came around first, and they were expensive ice cream. Ben & Jerry's came along, they're just as expensive, but they're fun, and they have fun names, right? So they made themselves the fun side of snooty ice cream. Tom's, right? Tom's, what's their brand? You buy one, I give one. My brand and my relationship with you is that if you have a relationship with me and you buy our shoes, you are helping take care of the world, right? Skechers tried to do that, and they came along with Bob's. Nobody bought Bob's because they weren't as comfortable as Tom's, and they didn't do anything. Uber, I mean, let's talk about who came onto the scene and built a huge brand. right? Uber is saying, don't do it for yourself, we can do it for you. And look at all the things that are now trying to emulate the Uber style. And beard brand. Okay, this is for the guys out there. There's like now this great, awesome beard company that has decided that manscaping is a thing now, and we're gonna have all these products. It's the Evian for beards, because they're telling you now that you need to groom your beard, and there's all these things that you can do now to have fabulous beards. Like nobody's ever needed that before, and you'll never need it really, but they are booming and their stock is rising because they're building a brand that says, we have a relationship, dude, I'm gonna take care of you. Date night, put a little beard oil in and it'll end up fabulous, right? So what does that mean? What we do is much more than a personal choice about food or where to bang, right? What we do is we create community, so your brand has to connect you to your community. Our challenge is we have lots of parts that make up our whole, right? And so sometimes we segment who we are. And we forget that you, as an agency, have to build a brand that speaks about who you are, what your value is, and stop trying to water down who you are. And I think that's the mistake that we all made. So, who and what tells your brand story? Well, the first is your products and services. So, are you searching and striving for excellence in everything that you do and everything that you provide to the community? Do you have a 100% satisfaction guarantee? So if I don't like that class, can I get a refund 100% of the time? Because do you believe in what you provide to the community so much that you're willing to back it up with that guarantee, with that refund? Do you strive for excellence in what you provide? Okay. That builds your relationship. Your image. Your image and your logo. So when I first went to the city of Newport Beach, every department had their own letterhead and logo. And then within our own department, every program had its own logo. Well, that wasn't establishing a brand. Half the time, no one knew that it was the city providing the program. They really didn't know it was Recreation providing the program because every flyer looked different. Right? You have to establish your image and your brand with your logo, and then you have to protect it. When I worked for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, they had a book this thick on what you could not do with their logo. And they protected that logo. They didn't let you do it in any other color than Pantone 3, I think it was, blue. They didn't let you put anything around it, anything near it. You had to have that logo. Nothing could be within 1/4 of an inch of that logo. They protected their brand because they knew that every time somebody saw that, it identified with them. And they needed to make sure that their brand was protected. Are you doing that? Are you taking your logo and are you, putting a basketball in the middle of it? Don't water down your brand. Whatever you put out there, whoever is out there with your shirt on it, with your logo on it, that's your brand and you need to protect that. You need to protect your image. So I have a very good friend who's in the party planning business, and she's done parties for Oprah and she's done parties for a lot of famous people, and she got a call one day from Ryan Seacrest, and he wanted her to do a party for the Kardashians, and she said no. And it was going to be on TV, and it would have made her a lot of money. And it would have gotten her a lot of business. But she said no because she didn't want to be associated with that brand because that was not who she was. And she protected her brand, right? And I work in the city of Orange. The recreation staff there is always in blue shirts. Always in blue shirts. And every now and then, a brand new coordinator would come in and go, hey, can we change to red? Or can we be yellow? No, because the entire community knows them as the blue shirts. The mayor at the time grew up in the city, worked in recreation, and was a blue shirt. When they have events, everybody knows if you need help, find a blue shirt. The blue shirt became who they are. Do you think I'm going to change that? Absolutely not. You have to protect your brand. You have to protect your image and your logo. My daughter's in the music business, and a few years ago, she got a call to come and sing on Ellen. Ellen called you. I was so excited. I already knew what I was going to wear that day. She turned it down because Ellen wanted her to sing cover songs. So she wanted her to come on the show and sing somebody else's music, and my daughter writes her own music, and she said, that's not who I am. But it was Ellen. Like, nobody's ever said no to Ellen before. It was Ellen. But she's protecting her brand and who she is. You have to be just as strong about protecting your brand. I got the stop sign, but I'm gonna end with the last thing that protects your brand, and that's your employees. Your employees are out there, they are your image. And so when you tell them your shirt has to be tucked in, your shirt has to be tucked in. And there's a reason. Because they are the first person that people see, right? When you are out there, when your employees are out there, more people see my team in the community than they will ever meet me. They are my image, they are my brand. My father used to tell me when I grew up that when you go out there in the world, you are taking my name with you. And I expect you to bring it back in the condition I've given it to you. That's what you need to tell your employees. When they go out in the world and they have your logo on their shirt, they're taking your image with them. They are telling your story about your brand and how they behave and who they interact with and what they do on the job and who they are being when they're doing what they're doing. That is your brand. And is your brand telling the right story? Do they have an elevator message? If anybody in the community asks them who they work for and what they do, what are they telling them? What's your story, and are they telling the right story? That's the story. Parks make life better. What's the story they're telling? That's it. Thank you.
And I think that concludes this particular rep talk. Thank you, Marie Knight. Let's give her a big